Good afternoon. This webinar offers closed captioning. Welcome to the City of Chicago Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection's free business webinar. This webinar is being recorded and will be available at youtube.com/ChicagoBACP. There will be a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. All BACP webinars are part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program, which is a free program for anyone interested in starting or growing a business here in the City of Chicago. Getting your certificate is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1, register for the program. 2, attend 6 webinars in 6 months. 3, graduate to get your certificate. Graduating makes you eligible to apply for a CIBC Bank Entrepreneurial Loan Program. Note that you must already be registered for the program to get credit for attending today's webinar. For full details, visit chicago.gov/BACP certificate. Views, information, and opinions expressed during this webinar are those of the presenter and are not necessarily part of the official policy or position of the City of Chicago or BACP. The information will be posted in the chat box. Today's webinar is Concessions 101, Respond to an RFP, presented by the Chicago Department of Aviation Concessions. Turning it over to Concessions.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Brandon Johnson, Commissioner Reed, and the entire team here at the Department of Aviation, it is my pleasure to welcome you all to Concessions 101 Workshop Webinar. I am Russell Johnson, Assistant Commissioner Concessions with the Chicago Department of Aviation. Also joining me is Assistant Commissioner of Concessions, Andrew Pilarczyk. We're excited to be here with you today. We are eager to provide you, the passengers of our world-class concessions program at O'Hare and Midway, by providing the ultimate experience in both domestic and international travel. We at CDA always strive to be innovators in our airport ecosystem, as we go all out to bring the very best in concessions offerings at our world-class airports. From the restaurants and shops right up to the gate, our airports create the first and lasting impression of our great city. We remain dedicated to bringing opportunity to all of our residents. We are committed to promoting equality and inclusion in our concessions contracts by focusing on diversity. We also work diligently to bring new ideas, new owners, and operators into the fold. I want to let my team shine a bit, so I'm going to leave that right there. You'll be hearing from our rockstar concessions team, including project administrators, Daniel Perez, Davrin Boyd, Mary Gallagher, and Adam Cheeks. They've put together an amazing presentation for you. At the end, you'll be able to ask in Q&A some questions. Please do not hesitate to ask. However, this presentation is not focused on the basic parts of how to respond to an RFP for concession at O'Hare and Midway Airport. It provides general best practice for thoroughly reviewing and responding to an RFP. It is not specific to the order of RFP or any other RFP that CDA may release in the future. Please ensure you carefully review any RFP for which you are preparing a proposal to ensure that you are addressing all requirements and specifics for that particular RFP. If you have questions about the order of RFP, we cannot address them here today. Instead, please submit general questions in writing to cdaconcessions@cityofchicago.org. Procedures and deadlines for submitting questions are further explained in Section 3E of the RFP. Thank you again for your interest in operating concessions at O'Hare or Midway International Airports. With that, I will pass it on to Daniel Perez, who will kick off our program with preparation is key. Take it away, Daniel.
Thanks, Russell. My name is Daniel Perez, Projects Administrator with the CDA, and today I'll share some key tips on how to best prepare for RFPs. Our first tip is to prepare ahead of time. One of the best ways to prepare is familiarize yourself with the concessions resource page. We'll discuss the resource more in detail later, but it's really one of the best places to get the latest concessions RFP updates and other helpful materials. You can access the concessions resource page at www.flychicago.com/concessionsresources. Or simply just find the link at the homepage of flychicago.com. And also to stay up to date on news and opportunities, sign up for web alerts on flychicago.com/signup. Another tip that we have here is networking. As many of you know, it's important in the business industry. As it relates to our RFP or any RFP in general, networking is key. Networking with different airport operators, concessionaires, and vendors is a good start. Attending networking events and conferences to learn from others and explore opportunities that are available. Engaging with key industry organizations, including ACI, which is the Airports Council International, AXN, Airport Experience News, and then also AMAC, the Airport Minority Advisory Council, including local chapter events. Staying informed on industry trends will help you identify opportunities and innovate ideas for your business. Understanding ACDBE, which is Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. If you haven't already, familiarize yourself with it. This minority business certification is regulated by the Federal Aviation Administration and encourages minority ownership and participation in airport concessions. Bottom line, if you qualify, get ACDBE certified. And also, if you don't qualify, explore possibly small business certifications that may apply to you. For upcoming ACDBE workshops, to learn more, visit the Department of Procurement Services events page at www.chicago.gov/DPS events. Upcoming ACDBE workshop dates, we have actually next Wednesday, which is in person at City Hall. Also March 5th, which is that following Wednesday, also in person at City Hall. And we have one March 12th online via WebEx. So visit that website that we have listed at the bottom there and register. Also, some things to consider, surrounding yourself with good advisors, including a financial advisors. So lenders will ask how you plan to fund your airport build out. Also, an attorney to help you review any legal documents and the contracts. An accountant, they play a crucial role in proposal preparation. Also, think about possibly hiring a proposal writer to help you kind of really polish up that proposal. And also small business development centers. They offer training and counseling for startup and growing business. Our next slide is kind of touching on kind of how costly operating at the airport could be. For build outs at O'Hare, they range from $1,500 to $2,500 per square foot, with the average about $1,700 per square foot. Something to think about are the labor costs. So labor costs tend to be higher at the airport, and part of it is you need to attract workers that are able to qualify for security badges at the airport, and also that are willing to make the daily commute over to the airport. Also, as far as operating hours, they tend to be longer than most street locations, typically 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. And also concessions, they operate all year round. And then also something to think about are logistics. Who are delivering your goods, how often, also storage of these goods. They're all factors to consider. And additional airport specific costs. So sales reporting and audit requirements, employee badging, and parking and transportation costs. Now we'll look at ways to operate as a concessionaire. So companies are able to operate in several ways. We have first as a signal operator, so that is leasing space directly from the airport. Second, we have joint venture, so that's partnering with another company to lease and operate a concession. Third, we have subtenant, so leasing from a larger concessionaire and operating under them. And then below we have the different steps of deciding on how you would operate. So we have the first on the bottom left, franchise agreement. So an example of that would be a regional or national brand such as a Dunkin' or a McDonald's. Second, we have a license agreement. So that's when operators obtain licenses with regional or local brands to operate their concept. And an example of that would be like a Harry Carey's or Republican. We also have, next up is the regional and local. So companies operate their own concepts. An example would be Garrett's Popcorn or Nuts on Clark. And then last, we have airport brands. So companies would develop their brand to operate at the airport, such as an Ice Bar or Chicago Bar and Grill. And next up, I'll turn it over to Davron Boyd, who will walk you through responding to an RFP.
Thank you, Daniel. I will be talking to you all about responding to an RFP. This is the RFP process. The time frame from RFP issuance to concession opening is very long, and it could take up to 1.5 to 2 years. The first thing that happens is CDA issues a request for proposal, or the RFP. Respondents then submit those proposals. CDA will evaluate responses through a selection committee and select the concessionaire or concessionaires. Selected concessionaire and CDA will finalize the lease. Then CDA will obtain approval from City Council. Then the concessionaire will submit design and construction plans for review and approval. And next, the concessionaire completes construction and opens for business. Here are the general elements of a proposal. You'll need your cover/transmittal letter, experience and qualification statement, methods of management and operations. You'll also need to have your concession development proposal, such as your store concept and design, compensation to the city, projected sales, net income and cash flow, capital investment and financing plan. You also need your ACDBE plan, your professional references, exceptions, your executed proposal affidavit, business information statement, and your financial statements. Make sure you read the RFP for other specific requirements. Attend the pre-proposal meetings and tours. Shortly after release of an RFP, CDA will hold a pre-proposal meeting. All interested respondents should make sure to attend. Names and contact information of pre-proposal meeting attendees will be posted in the data room. Take advantage of attending any tours that we offer, whether it be in person or virtual. At the tour, bring a printout of the airport's terminals to make reference and take notes on. Take notes and photos. You may not have another opportunity, and also include another set of eyes and ears if allowed. Make sure to read the RFP and compare notes with your advisors on all the requirements and addendums. Pay special attention to the minimum qualifications, which are experience, minimum sales history, financial capability, and ACDBE plan. Make sure you understand the type of concession that the CDA is seeking. Make sure to use the RFP data room, which is an online resource for all related RFP documents, such as forms, surveys, statistics. Make sure you memorize those key dates. They may change, so keep up on all the web words related to any RFP and always check the data room. Ask questions for clarification on anything you don't understand or which you want additional information on. And please don't assume anything. Always ask and make sure you're following the directions in the RFP on timing and format of questions. Make sure you're providing what the CDA is requesting. Your proposal should address exactly what the RFP is looking for, which are most importantly your concept, your menu or retail offerings, design, and rent proposal. Provide all the information requested in the RFP and make sure that you fill out all forms. Don't forget signatures. Don't overlook the evaluation criteria. Identify the criteria on which the selection committee is evaluating. Think like the airport. What works on the street may not translate well to the airport, and make sure you carefully read the RFP to address any other requirements. And now I'll pass it over to my colleague, Adam Cheeks.
Thanks, Darren. When creating your proposals, we want to make sure that you make sure you clearly articulate your proposal. Take the opportunity to highlight your business's strengths. You know your brand inside and out, but your audience may not. So provide some specifics to support what you're saying and try to avoid vague statements. Don't hesitate to market yourself. Share any relevant data, statistics, awards, and honors you may have. Have you won any awards? Have you been mentioned in a magazine for top restaurants? Put it in your proposal. Keep in mind that this is a chance for you to promote both your concept and your ability to execute it. Be concise and straightforward and avoid any unnecessary embellishments. We also suggest that you steer clear of slang or jargon that might confuse your audience, but incorporate enough industry language to demonstrate your expertise. It's important to discuss how your proposal would effectively function within the airport environment, and make sure that you carefully read the RFP to address any and all other requirements. Convey your enthusiasm. As you present your concept for a public facility, keep these key principles in mind: sustainability, diversity, and accessibility. They are essential elements that must be woven into your proposal. Emphasize why your proposal is the best choice for both the City of Chicago and the airport. Consider what unique offerings you may bring to this environment. Do you have a signature drink, a standout menu item, or a distinctive retail product that you're known for? Highlight what differentiates your proposals from others. What makes it the ideal selection over competing ideas? What separates you from another business similar to yours? Remember, don't assume your audience shares your knowledge. You understand your proposal best, so be sure to explain it clearly and thoroughly. And make sure that you carefully read the RFP to address any and all other requirements. Another thing that we want to recommend is conveying flexibility. Use your words, images, and passion to convey your enthusiasm for your proposal. Discuss how your concept addresses the diverse needs of the airport and its various travelers. Consider the different generations and their preferences. Cater to various types of travelers, business, leisure, families, and more. Address important issues such as accessibility, food allergies, and dietary preferences. Highlight how your proposal will remain relevant and appealing over time, focusing on the design and physical appearance that enhance the environment, menu items that are both innovative and adaptable. Emphasize your ability to adapt to changing passenger needs and industry trends. Showcase how technology will be leveraged to provide an enhanced customer experience. And finally, and most importantly, make sure that you carefully read the RFP to address any other requirements. And now I'd like to pass it over to my colleague, Mary Gallagher.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Adam. Thank you for giving a full, all of my colleagues just explained everything that goes into an RFP, and I am going to let you know that we have one that's due on April the 8th. And this is where you can get the information, flychicago.com, concessions resources. You'll find information there on how to become certified, how to get web alerts, not only for this RFP, but for future RFPs, which are coming. Previous presentations, so you can learn from this RFP for other ones. An overview of our concessions program and additional resources. The note, as I told you, sign up for the web alerts at flychicago.com, sign up, or go to the concessions resource page and you can get there. As this proposal, most of our proposals will always be due 90 days after posting. Again, as this proposal, times vary. So watch the due dates and the time. Make sure you're signed up. There'll be a pre-proposal meeting. You've missed it for this one, but for the upcoming RFPs. It's shortly after we post the RFP, and I encourage all of you to attend for information on who else is applying, as what else, other things you can learn. Again, the RFP deadline. If you have, we all had a deadline for questions, it's passed. Our new deadline is April the 8th. Please do submit any questions you do have in case there's an additional time element. I wanted to tell you mainly about our industry resources. These are resources, places you can go for conferences. Industry experts will tell you the best things happening in airports, not only nationwide, but worldwide. You can find out how to get assistance to be certified as an ACDBE or other additional services. The first one is the Airport Minority Advisory Council, MAC. You hear us internally talk about it a lot because we get knowledge from them. AirportExperienceNews.com is another one that you would want to be on their listserv. They keep you up to date on all FAA as well as airline industry news. And Airport Council International, ACI-NA.org. Airports not only of America, the whole wide world. Bringing it back to Chicago, we have these resources for you. The City of Chicago, you can try for any information. The Department of Procurement Services, which has sponsored us today and helps us a lot with this. The Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection, that who sponsored us today. The Procurement Services helps us with contracting. All are great resources for writing your RFP as well, becoming knowledgeable in the industry. And that is all for questions, and I am passing it on to our Assistant Commissioner, Russell Johnson, to answer any questions.
Well, thank you all for attending our webinar today on how to respond to an RFP. Geraldine, if you're ready, we are ready for questions.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for a great presentation. If anyone has any questions, if you could please put it in the chat and we could get some of these answered. First question, where can you find out about rent percentage of sales for the space?
So every RFP will identify each space and the specific requirements for that space. So depending on the RFP, all that will be usually in the form of a range, and you'll have to submit your best range.
Great, thank you. If there's any other questions, if you could please put it in the chat. We're getting a ton of thank you very much and very great information. Is there a minimum amount of time that a business must be in operation prior to applying?
So generally in an RFP, we require 3 years of experience in that particular type of business. So if it's retail, you need to have 3 years in that type of retail. If it's food and beverage, you need to have that type of 3 years experience in that type of food and beverage. Or if it's a service, you need to have 3 years of experience, or someone in the ownership needs to have 3 years experience combined of experience in that particular type of service.
Great, thank you. How long does it take to become ACDBE certified?
So the certification happens through third-party agencies or the City of Chicago, and that process can vary. So you'd have to contact the agency which you're trying to get certified through, and which again, the City of Chicago does do, and look at their requirements and their estimated time for approval.
Okay, great. What's the process if I want to bring in a franchise?
Well, you still have to work with that franchise, and between you and the franchisor, you have to submit a bid.
Okay, Is there an airport vendor list for supplies, construction companies?
So the airport environment has many contractors who do different types of services in the airport. I don't think there's a comprehensive list of all the services that are offered because we do cargo, we do passenger, we do move people around. Everything doesn't fall under concessions. So for concessions, we do have lists of people who provide services to our concessionaires, but that does not contain every business that operates at the airport or the type of services that they may need or use while operating a business at the airport.
Okay, great.
I'd like to add to that, if you visit flychicago.com/concessions resources, you can just see all the names and contacts of the people that attended our last networking event. And as we alluded to in the presentation, it's important to get out there and network with the community.
Okay, great. For vending machines, does that 3-year experience also apply?
Generally, that is our rule, but I think vending machines may have a different requirement. I would say if we put an RFP out for vending in the future, please just pay attention to what the requirement is for that RFP.
Great. The second question to that is, are there any recommended agencies that can help with the RFP?
I would again visit the resources we provided through the city of Chicago or any kind of support organizations like Small Business Administration that do that type of work. You can Google that and see what comes up in regards to people who support developing RFPs and find what best works for you or is in your local area.
Great. Is it the same process for retail?
Missed part of the question, but I think you asked, is it the same process for retail?
Is it?
It's the same process for every RFP that we put out. The process is the same.
I'm not quite sure, but someone put, is it the same for outdoor? If Jamie Evans wants to clarify that question.
I'm not sure what outdoor is.
Me either. Outdoor trolley, it looks like, but I'm not sure. So if they could just send a follow-up, that'd be great. Is there an upfront deposit or guarantee required when signing the initial lease agreement?
There is, I mean, that information would be in the RFP.
Who is in charge of kiosks?
Kiosk is a very specific program, and generally we focus on our concessions program with concessionaires that have won bids to RFP. So we support the businesses that bid and win RFP locations. A kiosk may be granted to somebody for their purpose to use at their location, but it's not a permanent thing we do here, and there may be changes in the future. And we would suggest that you look at what RFPs come out. There may be opportunity for small businesses to operate a kiosk, but you have to pay attention through web alerts.
Great. Are there any upcoming network or industry engagement events?
CDA doesn't have any planned at this time. Daniel did mention several other opportunities. I think the dates are coming up in March that you can learn more through the city of Chicago about different opportunities to become ACDBE certified. And I think that also gives you a chance to network with other people who have similar interests in doing business with the airport. And again, AMAC, they're the local city of Chicago chapter. I would definitely try to join that chapter to gain more insight about what the community here at the airport does.
Great. Do you need to make a certain amount in the 3 years?
Yes.
No, but what you have to do is show the expertise in your business. The business you propose, you need to show your expertise. The requirements for specific businesses and locations will be identified and spelled out in detail in the RFP. But that question is based on what you want to bid on.
And just to add to that, the respondent must provide evidence of responsibility to fund and finance the capital cost of the concession. So
Great.
some financial statements are necessary.
Perfect. Thank you for that. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted on www.youtube.com/ChicagoBACP. For any questions on their certificate program, you can email bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. Another question, do you allow AI robot coffee vending machines?
We would review every proposal on a case-by-case basis.
Great. Will there be any opportunities for pop-ups in the future? Has it been considered?
There are always opportunities. Again, I would suggest that you pay attention to web alerts. And when the opportunities pop up on the web alerts about pop-ups, if you're prepared to meet those requirements, go ahead and submit a bid.
Great. Do you have any samples of RFPs that we can use as a model?
Yes, the resources page contains the sample leases.
What's that chapter you mentioned? Maybe,
AMAC? And that's the, yeah. What about AMAC?
Yeah.
American Airport Advisory Minority Council, AMAC-org.com, and there is a local Chicago chapter.
no, thank you. Next question, can we conduct a walkthrough inside the airport to better assess foot traffic and layout feasibility before finalizing the agreement?
So for any RFP, we have a pre-bid meeting where you get the opportunity to do that and ask your questions. And all that has to be done in a timely fashion with the requirements of the RFP.
Great. Does a business have to be MBE certified to apply?
We accept all bids for RFP. It's an open bid process, so everyone can bid. But each bid will be reviewed based on the standards and requirements of the location.
Great, thank you. We'll give everyone another minute or so to put any of the other questions. Is there a minority first?
There's an open bid process where all bids are accepted.
Getting lots of thank yous and great informations. Give everyone another minute. How long does it take for decisions to approve the proposal?
I think this process would be typically in the range of 3 to 4 months after the RFP closes, but it all depends on the time it needs to review all the proposals are submitted, which is tied to the size of the RFP. So it varies.
Great, thank you. Give everyone another minute. When will concessions open?
In the beginning of the presentation, we alluded to the length of, the procurement, which can take up to, from the date the RFP is released to a concession can open, can take up to 1.5 to 2 years.
Great, thank you. Being in Chapter 11, bankruptcy affects the application process. Company is profitable.
Great.
I think there's financial statements that are required in letters of credit that need to be submitted that would be reviewed as part of the proposal. I recommend reading the RFP that is currently active +chicago.com/order up to read what those financial requirements are.
Great, thank you. Do you get a chance to pick which terminal to open up in?
In the open bid process, you can bid on whichever piece of concessions property or location that you choose, that your business will fit. But you have to look at the requirements for that particular location.
And the way the RFP is structured, it's structured in packages. And each package has different spaces from all different terminals. So you would have to apply to that package and that would tell you what terminal you would be in.
Okay, thank you. Where can we find the cost?
All the information about any current RFP would be located in the resource room for that RFP.
There's a presentation in there called, I think Financing 101, which is a good one to reference for that question.
Great, thank you. Do we have to have proof of financial statements in the proposal?
Yes.
There's questions about a lottery terminal or ATM machine. Is that a potential?
So lottery is provided by the state of Illinois. So we don't actually have an open opportunity for that. And with regard to ATMs, that we have to look out, again, join the web alerts, look out for an RFP for ATM machines.
A few more questions about financial statement. Is there a minimum that's required?
Every RFP will be different, and you have to look at the requirements for that RFP.
Great, thank you. Give everyone one more minute. Is there info we can access to see the foot traffic when deciding the possible site location in the airport? Example, which terminal gets higher foot traffic?
We post within the data room of the RFPs, all kinds of statistics in terms of passenger volumes and our existing sales at our concessions.
Great. Where do we get the RFP information again?
flychicago.com/order-up or flychicago.com/concessions-resources.
Great, thank you. Is there a list of business types that is not allowed for concessions? And they apologize, they walked away for a second.
Each concession within the RFP will have a permitted use. The respondent must follow that permitted use.
Great, thank you. I think that is all the questions. I want to thank our great presenters. This has been so much great information. One more
Thank
question.
you. Oh, sorry.
Now, I was like, one more question came in, but they're just asking specific coffee kiosks. So again, you can find all the information on the great sites that have been mentioned. I want to thank our presenters for this great information. And again, this will be posted at youtube.com/Chicago BACP.
Thank you, Geraldine.
You're
Have a great day.
welcome. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks so much.
Thanks.